Thank you for listening to RoadSigns, the podcast series from Transport Topics that explores the trends and technologies that are shaping the future of trucking. I am your host, Michael Fries. Before we dive into today's episode, we'd like to invite you to subscribe to Transport Topics, where you can receive exclusive access to our top 100 lists, quarterly magazines, and other news surrounding the trucking industry. To subscribe, visit ttn.ws/TT subscribe. You can also text TT subscribe to 571-622-0001 to become an official member of Transport Topics. That's 571-622-0001. When you think about maintenance at the fleet level, there are plenty of items to consider, especially when it comes to tire management. During our time at the Technology and Maintenance Council's annual meeting in New Orleans this spring, we had a chance to pick the brains of several insiders to find out what are the main concerns for managers when it comes to handling such a major part of the fleet maintenance budget and performance. So for this episode, we'll ask the question, how can fleet tire programs be both data-informed and cost-effective? For the answer to this question, we'll speak with Robby Hamby, the Director of Commercial Product Strategy for Bridgestone Americas, about the OEM perspective. But first, we'll hear from the fleet maintenance side with Ken Eggen, Chief Operating Officer of Wolf River Express. Both men spoke with us during the Transport Topics magazine event series Rotate, available at the Transport Topics website, ttnews.com. Let's take a listen. Welcome to a very special edition of RoadSigns. We're going to get the fleet perspective when it comes to tire management. And for that discussion, we have Ken Eggen. He is the COO of Wolf River Express. Nice to have you on, Ken.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to the conversation.
Oh, yes, me too. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, you are a hard veteran of this industry, and you've been in the trenches of the bays and in the fleet maintenance segment. And I just wanted to get your take on the fleet perspective when it comes to dealing with OEMs. When it comes to tire management, what are some of the foundations that are laid when you have these discussions? Because tires, that's a big part of the repair cost and the maintenance cost when it comes to the fleet. What are those conversations like with the OEMs to have that relationship when you're dealing with those tires, with deliveries down to the repairs and just the overall communication?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's a lot that goes into it. We've had several sessions here this week already just talking about those kind of foundational things. I like the way you put that, foundational. I always am looking for the right tire for the right application at the right time. And as technology changes and compounds change in tires, I want to understand with the OEM what's going on from that perspective. What are they doing? What's the newest of the technology that they're working with? And then I want to know, they want to know from me, by the way, they've got lots of questions. What do I want? Do I want long tire wear? Do I want better fuel economy? What am I looking for? So I like to find that blend of length of time a tire is going to last and the fuel economy. And then I want to understand all the way through from the time that we sign a national account deal to the time that the first tires deliver, to the pickup situation, to the retread situation. I want to understand that whole process, and we walk through from A to Z that process, and then every tire manufacturer kind of has a life cycle cost of owning their tire. And so I'm a life cycle ownership guy. I want to know, what do I anticipate the life cycle of the tire being and what's it going to cost me? And so those are the things that we talk about in great detail in those situations. A lot of people want to talk about cost first of acquiring the tire. I want to understand if I'm getting the right tire in the right application.
No, and in those conversations, just getting that balance, you said, with not necessarily with cost, but just having that relationship where you're trying to pinpoint those, I guess with the manufacturer trying to pinpoint those pain points that the fleet manager is having when it comes to managing tires. What are some of the obstacles that are involved in that when the fleet manager is deciding what OEM to choose?
There's so many different things. It's the reporting tools that they have at your fingertips. It's the kind of communication they have. I was just having this conversation with one of my providers here this week about the scrap tire analysis and those kind of things. Things that get in the way of things happening correctly is tires coming off on the road and then the supplier not necessarily having a way to capture that and getting information back to you. Why did I replace that tire on the road? Those type of things. So those are big obstacles for us all as fleets, and we have to manage through that very diligently.
Okay. Now, getting into just the
the tire management philosophy for most fleet managers. You've probably spoken to hundreds of maintenance managers, and there's probably 100 different ways that they have that they're managing their tire inventory. What are some of those common links that you see for the successful fleet manager when it comes to tire management?
So when you put the tire on, there's a lot of philosophies. It's cost per 30 seconds, it's cost per mile. I'm a cost per mile guy because you can get into so much granular detail in managing the cost of tires, you can work yourself into chaos. So I want to know what mileage does the tire go on and what mileage does the tire come off. And so that's going to pretty much give me what I need to see in the life cycle of the tire. And then I want to understand when they've got the tires in the racks, what's going on there? Are they rotating through? Have we got the right product in there? And they know what's going on with that. It's not real complicated, but you'll be surprised how many people don't capture the data of why a tire comes off. And so they don't know why they're buying tires. Tire costs are up. I've heard that 1,000 times in my career. Tire costs are up. Why? Nobody knows sometimes. And so you've got to know why you're replacing a tire, and you've got to know what tire you're putting on, and you've got to know where you're at in the cycle of a vehicle. Trucks and trailers are different. So you want to understand where you're at in the cycle with that to make a determination on what tire you want to put on sometimes.
Now, with the tractor and trailer difference, is that have you seen that as an obstacle when you talk to fleet maintenance managers?
Yes, I see people but it depends what kind of program they're on, right? If they're doing retread programs and it's a steer tire comes off and it gets retreaded and it goes to a drive and then it comes off and it gets retreaded and go to a trailer. I hear so many people talk about that concept, and yet I walk around and I'm going, do you know at what period of life the tires are coming out of your fleet? And they go, no. I'm like, then you don't know if you're taking it from the steer to the drive to the trailer. And at what point it's going out of fleet. These tires are incredible today, and the manufacturers are all doing a really good job of the product. And so you got casing warranties up to 7 years now. And I'm thinking, who ever sees a 7-year tire in their fleet, right? So very few people manage to that. That may be enough for a second, but many people do not manage to that level of detail.
I would think, Ken, that the solution to all this is education, and I guess we're in the right place for it. Yeah. Just educating the managers in that, and just getting down to the basics. That's something that's, I guess, back to that word, foundational.
Mm-hmm. Every time I've walked into a fleet situation, the first place I go to, and I just told this story just yesterday, I go to the tire pull-off rack. I want to see what's come off the vehicles, and I walk through, and then I'll go back and grab a manager, and I'll take them out and ask them questions. What do you think happened here? What do you think happened here? Why are these off here? Why are they in this rack? Who's going to pick them up? What's the process with them? And it's oftentimes that you get a deer in the headlight look, and so you have to coach people through. And TMC has some great knowledge tools here with the RPs, and S2 study group does a phenomenal job here of putting information out and coaching and educating people, and from the diagnostic, understanding what's causing wear patterns, to pulling them off before the tires are destroyed, those kind of things. There are so many knowledge tools available. It's unbelievable.
Okay. I want to circle back to what you were mentioning before with retreads. And I wouldn't say surprisingly, it's surprising to me because I'm a novice in this, but just the philosophy behind retreads and how managers should approach that. I know you have some views on that. Just elaborate on that.
It's the right thing to do in our industry for so many reasons is to retread when we can. And there's some operations you just can't retread. It's not the thing to do. But the retreads, again, the retreaders are doing a phenomenal job. The manufacturers have got great technology in the retread plants. These things they last, and they do very good life cycle service. And so it's an integral part of everything I've ever done, and it's a very intricate part of our business. And if you're going to manage life cycle costs and you're going to manage your tire program to the best cost that you can, you have to do retreading, and you have to have the right partner, and you have to understand their technology, and you have to understand why tires come off, and then walk through the process. I was just talking to a provider this week, and just talking about the new technology they have in some of their plants and things. It's just incredible. Retreads are very good, and it's an integral part of our cost management piece of our business.
You've been a veteran of this industry for some time now.
Is it the gray hair that gives it away? I never can tell. I tell people I just started last week.
Yeah. You've been in the game for a long time. And you've many innovations. You've seen the big shiny object and those aspects come and go within the industry. And one of the things that's unavoidable to talk about is electric vehicles. And many of the OEMs that are exhibiting here, they often have the new tire lines. They're catering to electric vehicles, particularly last mile. What are your thoughts on that, just in the management aspect of that, and just trying to find that balance, because diesel is still going to be king, and this is an idea that we're going to see 3 to 5 years in critical mass in practice. What would be a manager's approach to that?
Yeah, so I've dabbled with it in the last few years, and just from the electric vehicle standpoint, there's some really good applications for that. We're a ways away from seeing it in the long haul side of the business, but from the tire perspective, as it relates to that, it's much to me like an LTL fleet. A lot of twist and turning. They're going to have high torque. So again, it's the basics. Understand what the tire is built for. Right tire on the right application at the right time. And so as I walked around and look at some of the tires from every manufacturer's got tires that'll work on those vehicles just fine. You just got to know when you look through the product catalog and you consult with your supplier that you are matching up that right tire. But twist and turn, the way your shoulders are designed, those kind of things, being able to handle the torque, that's going to be the key to getting the right tire on that application. And they'll do just fine. There's plenty of availability for that.
Ken, my last question to you, it's just pretty much a general advice that you would give to fleet maintenance managers when it comes to tire management. Like, for instance, I spoke with Anthony Marshall, the Director of Engineering and Maintenance for UPS, and he had said that just the documentation for tire management in his fleet alone is about 70 plus pages. Yes. And I'm pretty sure that those pages vary among fleets, big and small. What is your advice to managers such as that, especially in the smaller types of fleets, when they have that avalanche of analysis and data when it comes to tire management? How could they sift through that and become an efficient operation?
It's a great point. So in Anthony's situation, they have lots of different applications than most people are going to face in their career. They're going to have, one or two in a lot of different fleets, not as many as they have at UPS, obviously. I began my career with overnight transportation, which UPS freight I actually bought. So and we were saying we had a tire manual guide that was 3 inches thick. Over the years, I've pulled that back. You've got to be able to drive the knowledge down so people can understand it clearly and thoroughly. I have a friend of mine, a mentor, and he's here at TMC, a past chairman. He used to tell me all the time, MBWA, management by walking about. I like for my managers to be out and looking, and I do this as an executive. Whenever I'm in a facility where there's trucks of any kind of mine or anybody's for that matter, I like to walk around and look at the tires and see what's going on. I'll take people and I get them on my shoulder, so to speak, and I take them out and I coach them through. I ask them questions. Hey, what do you see when you see this tire that's got this shoulder wear? What's that tell you? When you see uneven wear, what's that tell you? When you see dips in the tread, what's that tell you? So you can have a guy that speaks a lot to the safety aspect of your program, which is absolutely critical. You can have a guy that shows you things that what various tire wears look like and what they do. Obviously, like I say, there's plenty of RPs in the S2 study group, things that they've put out over the years, but you've got to go look and put your eyes on it. And that's how you know what's going on. And so, again, and then follow it through to the end when the tires come off and go to the retread plant and you get what we call RERs, meaning the casing's no longer able to be used. What happened? What's causing that? And at one point we had a stat in the industry that said 60% of tires that can't retread were going out of your fleets, and it was a lot of it due to damage, hitting sidewalls, into curbs and things of that nature. Go inspect. Management by walking about. Go look from beginning to end what's going on with your tires, on your vehicles, real time, and you'll understand everything you need to know about your tires.
Management?
MBWA, management by walking about.
Management while walking about.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
yeah.
That you can use that concept for any industry.
For everything. That's right. That's exactly right. It's just true. You got to go look. We've heard it for years. I was saying, inspect what you expect, and that's the thing. I know what I'm looking for when I walk through, and it comes from the experience and being around smart people. And again, just to give the plug to TMC, to being in these tech sessions and being in these study group sessions and those kind of things. I've been here since 1998. It's and the people, the sessions, invaluable.
Likewise, it's a pleasure having you on. This is some great information, totally great information.
Thank you so much for allowing me the time. I appreciate it.
No problem, no problem.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Welcome back to our very special edition of the
Previously, we got the perspective from the fleet management side when it comes to tire management. Now we're going to have the OEM perspective, and for that we have Robby Hamby. He is the Director of Commercial Product Strategy for Bridgestone. Robby, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
No problem. I really want to get into just the relationship with fleet managers from the OEM side. How do you establish that foundation to grow into a greater customer service relationship with these fleet managers?
No, understand. So fleets are very key to our business. We want to understand what they're looking for from a tire standpoint. They always look for total cost of ownership. So we understand what they're looking for, what attributes in the tire, what we can do to deliver that so they maximize their assets. We look at it as an asset to them, especially when we look in terms of retreading. So we want to be sure we provide them the best product to deliver that performance they need for their fleets.
Mm-hmm. And establishing that relationship, it's a whole big pie of things to worry about. Let's get into the development, the product development, and what fleet managers are talking to you about when they want the perfect tire.
Yes, exactly. A lot of it is that total cost of ownership estimate, and obviously trends change over time. As of now, you see a lot more focus probably on rolling resistance, CO2, versus wear historically. So we're trying to understand what their need is for that, what they're looking for. As we develop products, we want to be sure that we're delivering that performance aspects that drives their total cost down, what's important to them. Understanding their applications to wear, I think that's what's key. Obviously, everybody wants wear. They need that rolling resistance, but sometimes you may need to balance that traction aspect of that tire as well. So we want to understand that and take that as part of our development, that value chain engineering that we take from our customers to our development side to produce the right products for them.
So the total cost of ownership, the TCO, that's a very vital part.
Yeah, it's a buzzword. You hear it a lot of times, but it is key. And fees look at it different ways. Some of them look at what we sometimes call as total cost of ownership, where they start looking at their fuel budget as well. So those fleets that manage that very well, we want to provide them that tire. And there's others based on the application that are more focused on wear. So we want to provide that longer lasting wear tire so they maximize that asset from that standpoint as well.
Okay. The extending of the life cycle, that's many managers I've spoken to talk about that as well.
Yes. And so we look at it from that next aspect, it's the retread. To really get that benefit of that casing. We feel like our casing is the best in class in the industry. We want the fleets to understand that and how to maximize that and work with them to develop a program that maximizes that casing's life from a retread standpoint, whether it's various options we have from retreads for drive as well as traders, so they maximize that casing and get the most out of that life.
I had Ken Eggen on. He be working with the fleets as he has. He had talked about the retreads and just the philosophy behind that, and he was just explaining just the education and just maybe that gap in with managers not utilizing or realizing the benefits. Or
retread's been around for a long time.
Yes.
I think a lot of the fleets realize the benefit of it and the value for retread. And I think we'll see more interest in that as we see more focus on sustainability. So you're actually using a lot less material if you think about from a retread standpoint versus the new tire. So I do see probably a more heightened focus on retreadability in the future, and want to be sure that we develop those tires with that casing in mind to deliver that performance they need in the future as that becomes more of a focus, I think, with fleets. No, a lot of it is still a focus now, but I see it growing even more in the future. Okay. With Fleet Care as part of our business, we're trying to expand into that and really develop in digital tools to help them monitor that casing health in the future as well.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about that. And then you just ran by another buzzword, sustainability. I know I know fleets are definitely talking about that in every aspect when you talk about alternative fuels, electric vehicles, and especially with tires. Just with the program that you have and dealing with that, what is the feedback that you've been getting back with customers?
I think real positive. We're here at TMC actually showcasing our first Enlighten product, the Great-Tech M703, which Enlighten is our new suite of technologies that we've developed to really focus on sustainability. And maybe historically there's been a trade-off. If you think about wear and road resistance, we developed new technologies that limit that trade-off. So we can focus on that wear that our fleets are still looking for. It's still a lot of times always about wear, but we want to provide them that sustainability impact as well by delivering better rolling resistance, more renewable, recyclable material into the product, and that's where retreading becomes a big key from a sustainability factor, that we can reuse that casing, reduce the impact to the environment from that standpoint.
And one of the things, especially you can't avoid this topic with electric vehicles, definitely with last mile delivery and the tire use, a phrase that you've used. So in dealing with that I've seen a lot of tire manufacturers premiere their line of products, definitely cater to the last mile effort. Yeah.
Yes, I'll speak to that. We've seen that grow exponentially in the last couple of years after the COVID situation. A lot of the shopping has changed. We've seen last mile delivery grow. So we're working very closely with fleets and customers to develop what tires are needed for that, to understand that impact on those electric vehicles. We do see that probably is an opportunity where electric vehicles will grow just due to the route and the range factor. You're coming back home. So we're working very closely with our customers, our design group, to develop products that meet the needs for that last mile delivery. It is new, it's emerging, and probably will be evolving over time in the next few years. We continue to see that grow.
Okay. Robby, I got one more question for you before I get you out of your hair. I know you're a busy man. What are especially in terms of trends in your conversations with fleet maintenance managers, what are some of those lurking issues that maybe nobody is seeing? What's coming up on the horizon that we should be worried about? Or not worried about?
I think we've touched base on probably the two biggest ones. The first being sustainability. Then the next impact on what EV vehicles look like. Where do we see that growing first in the commercial space? We kind of anticipate, as we mentioned, last mile delivery being a prime option for growth, maybe along with waste and bus. As you think about here being a long haul and regional, obviously the battery technology probably needs to be enhanced to be able to deliver those longer ranges in those vehicles, as well as developing an infrastructure to support those EV vehicles in the future. To me, those are probably the big key focus areas that we're thinking about and planning for the future.
We've been speaking with Robby Hamby. He is the Director of Commercial Product Strategy for Bridgestone. Robby, it was a pleasure having you on.
No, enjoyed it. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Before we close, let's take a moment to revisit our previous question. How can fleet tire programs be both data-informed and cost-effective? First, a big thank you to Ken Eggen and Robby Hamby for taking the time out of their busy schedules to discuss tire management. As Eggen noted, the task of tire maintenance in the fleet setting is a balance as well as a puzzle. He stated it takes a hyper-focused effort to maintain a healthy tire set for their fleet, but also there is a need to react to the real-time concerns that come with the life of the tire, as well as the happenings on the road. To assuage those concerns, there is a need to be data-reliant, and partnerships with OEMs like Bridgestone, as Hamby noted, go a long way to making sense of what a fleet's goals are and taking a plan of action to be a safe and efficient operation. If you enjoyed this episode of Road Signs, please let others know. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Feel free to reach out to the Road Signs team on Twitter at TTRoadSigns or reach me at Michael V. Fries. You can email us at share@ttnews.com. We'll read them and respond daily. Also, let us know how we're doing by texting TT Survey to 571-622-0001. And of course, we'll be back with a new episode of Road Signs. Until then, I'm Michael Fries. Thank you for listening.
Did you know you can ask Alexa to open Transport Topics? In just 1 minute, you will hear the biggest trucking headlines of that day. Be prepared and start your morning off right with Transport Topics.